Hi. The third law of anxiety. You must allow when someone wants to ignore. Now that's the natural consequence. Considering the first two laws, that's the natural consequence of the first two laws, and is a byproduct of the first two laws. And that's where that comes from. It's a absolutely natural consequence if you allow other people to conceal their anxieties. And that's like not really probably the best way to put it. This is because of courtesy, because the character of consciousness, part of it is courteousness and respect, right? And so it's a natural consequence of the first two laws, is that you must allow other people to conceal their anxieties, which is effectively ignoring how you feel. You know, many people know that other people are concerned about what they're up to, and they willfully ignore it, you know. And so the third law of anxiety is you must allow when someone wants to ignore. And the fourth law is also party to the first two laws, which is you must accept without question the dishonesty that is caused by the first three laws. And that's really, the fourth law is really an extrapolation of the third law, and the third law is really an extrapolation of the second law. But these are about conditions. This is like, you've got the personal experience, and then you've got who you are talking to, and then you've got the general way we operate, right? And so this is probably a big reason, a very leading catalyst of why the media does not talk about anything that is about the causality of issues. They never talk about the causality of issues. They're never going to track down the parents of someone who is suicided by the police, or committed suicide, or done some criminal thing, or anything. And in keeping with that, they also don't really get too into why people excel. You know, what was the path that led to the person winning the championship? What was the philosophy during the path? You know, there's nothing of this in our, you know, in conventional wisdom. There's very little attention of this, and that's because of the fourth law. And so that's the fourth law, the third law, the second law, and the first law of anxiety. And this is how it manifests as a political thing. But this is actually the singular experience consciousness has when it's been hijacked with anxiety, hijacked by anxiety. And because we actually function on all those levels all at the same time. You know, so the big lie of, one of the big lies of civilization is that, oh, communism's evil, socialism's stupid, democracy is amazing, you know. Democracy facilitates capitalism, but the big lie of it all of the whole logic of the political sphere is that every single person has a different perspective of different things. Okay, so what I'm saying is, we all have some opinion that would seem communist. We all have some opinion that would seem socialist. We all have some opinion about some things that is a democratic thing. So, and this is the thing of it. If someone's creating an artwork, like a car, or, you know, someone decides to do something, right? They mostly never do it by committee. They just have this thing they envision, and then they go and do it, and it could take years to make it happen. But they're strictly a dictatorship. Okay? And that same person, when he's having a party, you know, he's in a social situation, he would be the first person to offer you a beer, which is a socialist thing, right? Make sure everyone's got a beer, you know. Mum would make sure everyone's got something to eat, you know. And but Mum would be a communist when it come to her garden, you know, or how her family is dressed, you know. And then the democracy thing, this is the forward planning thing, this is forward thinking, you know, that, you know, it's invariably when it involves other people with a forward thinking idea, you start thinking democratically about it and how you can network people together. Okay, and so you see the whole three political ideologies actually all exist at the same time in every person. Okay, and it's just what you get with an intelligent being. It's what you get with consciousness. And so this is why a lot of artists hate recording labels, because the recording label messes with the creative direction. Okay, this is why they hate it, and that's just something I'm aware of and out there. They absolutely hate it. So this determination of communism, socialism, democracy, this comes from actually the perspective of the 8 laws, the worldview that's been created through the person's relationship with the 8 laws and how they can best move forward, getting credibility, getting political credibility, getting listened to people. They choose either one of these things that might be the best vehicle for their aspirations, and so that's the consequence of that. And but according to, going back to the premise of this video, how does this influence language? How does the 4th law of anxiety, which everyone has known for their whole lives, you must accept without question the dishonesty that is caused by the first 3 laws. And this is what you are and are not allowed to say. And this is part of why a great many people that have existed on the earth are actually virtually told that they only use 10% of their brain. Because I've asked hundreds of people that, and mostly every one of them has said yes. They were told as children that they only use 10% of their brain. And so, you know, and so this instance of anxiety has the result where young people are told that at a very early age, and this is why religion has been a central pillar of Western civilization, actually, and in all peoples, it's because of this. See, that's that you know, that qualifies it. Religion qualifies it, you know, in a tangible way. Okay, tangible, or the lie that everyone believes. Okay, the lie that everyone believes is the truth. If everyone believes it, it's true. And so this is the issue with it. And so really, religion is just a religion is just it's acting as anxiety, and then you've got all this logic, this hierarchy of logic that is handed down to people, and this one of the overlapping anti-tamper mechanisms is because of the culture shock event of birth. where the human being is, because of this total freak accident, the human being is already on board with the idea of it at a conceptual level, at the quantum level of thought. So they're coming up with it from the quantum level of thought through this freak accident, and then we get on coming from the external, religion, people's relationships, the news media, because the little baby that does not have language, that does not possess language, listens to the news media, and the political optics of what the baby can hear when the baby does not possess language is that anxiety is wisdom and virtuous. I mean, that's why they're saying these things every day. You know, they sound like this every day. The tone of the voice is the same every day. And the political optics of that is that anxiety is wisdom and virtuous. And so you've got the instance there where they hear this tone that reflects that anxiety is wisdom, but then this repeated assertion all day, you know, and so this is an observation, okay? This is an observation that is credible. And so our children are nurtured and have always been nurtured. I mean, so yeah, anyway, so really the fourth law of anxiety, the first law of anxiety is in the individual situation. Second law of anxiety is when the individual is dealing with another person. The third law of anxiety is really a due diligence thing according to the first two. And the fourth law of anxiety is about the group. Okay, and that's how the political entity anxiety operates in each of those circumstances. And so this is the singular event, right? You're in bed, you're at home, watching the TV, thinking, then someone rings you up, okay, then you go and see someone tomorrow, and they say something, and then you actually walk away really unhappy, actually, spiritually, because you're not allowed to actually talk about what you want to talk about. You're not allowed to even think about what you want to think about. You can't actually express your actual honest feelings. Okay? And this is the spiritual element. This is a consequence to the spirit. To the spirit, we have consciousness as our spirit. This is the experience of consciousness. Okay? So in your course of your day, you have this double down experience that anxiety is wisdom, and all the while consciousness is going, what? And so that's what I've observed. And then we get days and days and weeks and years and years and years. And we have these outcomes that we have. I mean, really, I'll just say one of the primary consequences of believing that anxiety is wisdom is it will stop a person valuing education, because they are too focused on their problem and they can't stop focusing on their problem. The problem has much more higher value if the person believes that anxiety is wisdom. And so again, you know, the fourth law has an implication that when someone's running around trying to get you to listen to them, they'll load up what they're saying with anxiety to make it seem like it's really important, you know. And this is kind of a lot of why the middle management people in the middle management, they talk to the people on the floor, and they a lot of the time load up what they're saying with anxieties. And this is the leading cause why the nurses in New Zealand just did the big strike. Conditions. And this is because they live in this environment that it's riddled with experiences of being handed down communications that are loaded with anxieties. And then it takes the mind completely off the job, off the solution, and it makes the problem really important, and anxiety has no interest in solutions. It is instinctively anti-changing anything. It wants to keep things exactly as they are. Okay? And that exists from the quantum level of thought all the way through the different social situations that bring about the 8 laws, that require a law for that situation. Okay? And so, and this is going on all over the world, man. So there you go, that's the 3rd and the 4th law. They're all a product of the 1st law, actually. That consciousness has had the culture shock event of birth, where it is the first thought that anxiety is wisdom. And that automatically creates the 2nd law when you're dealing with someone else. And then the 3rd and 4th law are automatically materialized, because this is how consciousness, while hijacked with anxiety, can cope with these different social situations. And so that's the 4th law of anxiety. And so for the next vid, I will be doing the 5th law of anxiety. But again, I'll say that all of these work together. They are a measure of each one, and it acts as an algorithm. And so, can't wait for that.